We've just come out of an office with Barry Hearn, and I have 2 contracts here to extend our sponsorship for the Betfred World Snooker Championships. That's not a Betfred pen. You have to sign with a Betfred pen. So, gents, can we sign in a relevant place? So we've literally just come out of the office with Barry, and we can deliver this great news that we're extending until at least 2021. So a 2-year extension. So we are absolutely delighted to announce this news. Is that your right signature?
I love the fact that the marker for my signature is a Betfred betting slip. Not a trick missed, Mark, as always. Thank you.
We just... Right, both signed, so we're done. Negotiations over. And Barry and your team, thanks very much. Really appreciated.
Thanks, Barry.
Thanks,
It's a
Fred.
pleasure dealing with you.
Always, mate. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Right, Fred, boss of Betfred, I'd just like to ask you first of all, great news.
It was an easy decision. The hardest part of the decision is dealing with Barry, but once you've got over that hurdle, you're home and dry. We've done this for 9 years, the sponsorship here. We've signed for another 2 years minimum, and I've got to say it's probably one of the best sponsorships we ever do. Why? Because we've got you on our side, the players are always there for us, the officials here are fantastic, we get 17 days of TV, worldwide coverage. I was in Thailand 6 months after this competition last year, and it's still being rerun over there. So we get marvellous value out of it, and we get great cooperation from everybody, and it's a real pleasure to do this deal.
Barry.
Well, look, I've known Fred too many years to disagree with anything he says. So, on behalf of World Snooker, I want to welcome him to extend his family relationship, because it feels like a family relationship. We have some good banter, Fred and I, because we're both quite old school players. But the one thing we want more than anything else is value for money. We don't like people taking liberties with us, and we are delivering a product here that everyone in World Snooker can be very proud of. It is 17 days. It's 500 million viewers globally. It's one of the biggest sports events in the world, and it's had the pleasure of the relationship with Betfred now for 9 years with a minimum 2 extensions. It gives me a chance actually to talk about the World Championships, because it comes under the Betfred banner. So what we know is that next year there'll be 128 players on the tour, and it'll be fixed at 128. And within that 128 is an additional 4 spots from Q School this year as well. So instead of 12 cards for the 200 plus hopefuls that are participating, there'll be 16. We can also confirm that one of the tour players for next year will be a certain James White, who has been given a 2-year tour card in respect of his undisputed services to snooker, and this was a unanimous decision by the board. Jimmy White has paid his dues and quite rightly deserves to be looked after. So Jimmy's on tour for the next 2 years. We look forward to Q School straight after this. It's going to be monumental, and there's some great players coming through from all over the world to continue this global reach this year. For the first time this year, the whole of the World Snooker Championships is live in the USA on the DAZN network, where people now are subscribing to this new streaming service and watching every ball from the World Snooker Championships. This never happened before. We're extending to Brazil very shortly, but the rest of it is over 130 countries will be watching this event. We are now a mature sport. In the last 8 years, and it's all Betfred journey with us, in the last 8 years we've become a mature sport. We started off creating more opportunity for players, increasing prize money, and making it a level playing field. We now feel that we've got to the stage where we can move. We've done phase 1, we've done phase 2, we're now moving into phase 3. Phase 3 is much more structured, because we are rewarding those players with ability, which means that next year's World Snooker Championships will begin with 16 invitational cards given to the WPBSA to spread the gospel of snooker and reward players around the world, to incentivise those to take up snooker as a full-time career. those 16 players in round 1 will play the lowest 48 seeds of the 128. The 32 winners of that will play the next lowest 32 seeds, and so on until we get through to the last 16 that will join the top 16 at the Crucible. So this will reward players that have achieved additional ranking success during the year without going into round 1, and at the same time achieves another primary object, which is spreading the money deeper into the game. So whereas this year we had 64 players that went home with nothing, next year there'll be 32 players that go home with nothing. It still means it's built on credibility, but at the same time we have to be serious about these players. We want them to survive. This is the first year in the history of snooker where pretty well within a few pound the top 64 have all got £100,000 to their name on the 2-year ranking list. And that's a major step forward because we're removing barriers to entry. Doesn't matter who you are, what your mum and dad did, what school tie you've got, what your education is, it's about winning at snooker. There are no barriers to entry. We'll release details of the prize money breakdown. The prize money will of course go up as it always does. Next year it's going to be up to a little modest 2.4 million, still with £500,000 to the winner, but with a deeper projection of prize money. For Betfred, this 2-year extension comes at good news. You know, we all know gambling companies are looked upon, going to be more controlled probably in the future by government, and we all want people to enjoy a bet modestly without causing anybody any harm, and the educational process will continue with Betfred leading the way. From our side, we work with people that we can understand the language of how they operate and the customers they want to service. And I think our customers and Betfred's customers are one and the same people. So we've seen our prize money grow from 3.5 to up to 15 million this year is the planned target. This is the end of phase 2, and at the end of phase 3 I won't be here. So I'm looking forward to the next phase and taking it to the next level. We're also beginning next year a 147 pot. There's a lot of talks about maximums. We know it's the ultimate accolade for a player to make a maximum break, but there are quite a lot of them. So we're going to create a £1 million 147 pot next year. And to hit the 1 million, we need 20 maximum breaks in the season. And then everyone who's made a maximum break will participate in that pot. I think that should motivate everyone to try harder, and also perhaps make sure they pot all the balls, because the pot depends on their success. We've had 74 centuries this year. The record is 86. Fred loves to do a special bet, but even he's going 10 to 1 on that we're going to smash our all-time record this year. 74, by the way, was up to last night. I'm not sure how many we've had today. I think 1 or 2 more. 2 more? Okay, so we're within striking distance, and that's going to be a special celebration. So all in all, with the new format, with the extension of our sponsorship with Betfred, with our £1 million pot, and with snooker now looking at 20 ranking events a year, 10 invitational events a year, we are now a real player on the global stage. And our sponsorship with Betfred over 9 of the last few years has been a fundamental reason why we're in such a strong position, as is the media coverage that you guys give us. So from all of us at the top table, it's a special thanks to you. I notice they haven't given you a glass of champagne yet, but I will toast your health, and I'll toast the health of our new partners for the next few years.
Am I allowed to drink at work?
Yeah. We will be talking on Monday about other changes to the circuit, but today is all about the extension with Betfred and what a wonderful World Championships we're having, and the coverage has been unbelievable, as have been the TV ratings. I'm always concerned when a big name like Ronnie O'Sullivan goes out, because you think, oh, what's going to happen? And actually, combination of weather and Ronnie, we were a little bit behind the black ball for the first couple of days, but we've more than made that up, and now we're pushing ahead. And both Eurosport and BBC reported excellent viewing figures, well up on last year. So we're ticking boxes, but as usual, there's no complacency in this room. We're driving ahead 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, And I think I've got the best team in administrators out there to do it. And certainly working with Mark and his team at Betfred, we have maximised the World Championships amazingly well. So any questions, Fred and I will be happy to answer.
I'd just like to say one thing as well. It looks like we're going to get the 80 centuries. So we'll be giving £25,000 to Snooker's official charity, Jessie May, and we'll continue these working with Snooker's official charity as we continue this.
I wasn't sure you were doing that. I didn't like to mention it, but that's so generous. Thank you very much.
We appreciate that. So please, any questions? Sorry, go on.
You mentioned about the increased maturity of the sport. So in that respect, how important is it that the world champion performs a kind of ambassadorial role during his reign as champion? And has that role, if it exists, always been fulfilled to your satisfaction?
I'm a hard taskmaster, and it's never fulfilled to my complete satisfaction, because I want to push the game as far as I can. And I wouldn't say it's just a world champion. I think every top player has a responsibility, whether it's covered by the player's contract or not, to be an ambassador for the game. And you don't spend your life criticising people. I spend my life trying to get more out of people, and I think the vast majority of players have more than fulfilled their obligations to World Snooker, and I'm always looking for more.
Mark Williams obviously suggested that he hadn't been valued during his reign, because it was perceived that he was displaying a sort of wrong image.
No, that's not the case at all. I love Mark Williams. I think he's got the driest sense of humour I've ever had. He's a complete wind-up merchant. He always has been. He'll never be any different. And I think he has been a great ambassador for the game in terms of, in his 40s, he won the world title. First time his kids were there to see his dad winning. And they really would have got a backstage pass if he'd have asked earlier. But we have an organisation here which is built around logistics. In today's world, security is obviously paramount as well. So there is zero tolerance on any changes. But don't misinterpret that. Mark Williams is held in very high esteem by World Snooker, and frankly, I think he's been an excellent world champion for us during the year. I understand he's partied most of the year. And you know what? I think if I won the World Championship in my mid-40s, I think I'd have a party as well.
I think as sponsors, we'd echo how great Mark Williams has been to work with this year, wouldn't we?
I've never had one problem with Mark Williams. He's been dead easy for us to work with. He's been, I would describe him as a great ambassador for Betfred. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, and that goes for all the players. The players must be praised for how they make themselves available as well. Jamie?
Can I just ask one about the deal? Because I'm interested. It's been a long-term relationship with Betfred. I just wonder, what do you get as a company? What are the tangible benefits of this relationship you have now, which is very well established with World Snooker and this tournament team?
Well, we sponsor darts, we sponsor rugby, we sponsor racing, or we did sponsor racing. I'll just touch on that after. In the car coming up here, I was talking to my guys, and I said, what do you think is our best sponsorship? And this was given the vote as the best sponsorship. Why? Partly what I said before, the cooperation we get from you people. The players are always approachable, always available to us. And dealing with Barry, we've got a relationship now. Betfred have got worldwide exposure from this competition. If I can do this for the next 20 years, provided I can agree with Barry, and I'm sure we always have to get an accommodation somewhere, it will be done. I love this competition.
Hector?
Yeah, well, first of all, just like to say congratulations to everyone on the renewal and extension of the deal. I think that's great news for the sport. A very quick one to Barry. Barry, just on the qualifying, just so I've understood that rightly, does that mean if you're just outside, instead of 3 qualifiers for everybody, that'd be 2 for some and up to 4 or 5 for others?
Effectively, there's going to be 4 rounds instead of 3 rounds, but the players will come in later depending on their tiered structure. So, and the same rule applies, Hector, is that if you come in your first round and lose, you will get paid, but that money won't count towards your ranking. You've got to win a match to make sure the ranking money kicks into your official rankings. But it does mean that the top players are rewarded a little more. In other words, outside the top 16, because they're already rewarded, they're at the crucible. But the next 16 have still done remarkably well to get in the top 32, and they will get a little bit more benefit than they have in the past. And I think we're mature enough in the sport to say, look, there are 20 ranking events. It's a level playing field. You've all got your opportunity to get into that higher level to save yourself a round or two. It's up to you. And it's all about ability on the playing surface, isn't it? It's about results. But at the same time, it takes into account the contribution they've made to the game by their success during the season.
In darts, you said you're looking for £1 million winner of the World Championship.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd like in snooker in the future?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Fred gets a bit tireder and he's not quite so sharp, I'll probably get it out of him. But it might take me a bit of time because he's a wily old customer from Manchester, We're always aiming. The £1 million winner's prize is something that's a press number, and it's great. But the real strength for me is the growth of the total prize money that's available to everyone, because that's what inspires people to pick up a cue in the first place and say, I want to be. I watched Gary Wilson here this week. I'm so proud of him. He's changing his life. And I think that's what sport's all about. It's about changing your life through God-given ability. I said to Fred earlier, I grew up wanting to be heavyweight champion of the world. And then I found out I couldn't fight. It was a career setback. But I was inspired by my heroes. And I think that's, to me, the 128 players are my heroes, because they've all got this special ability at different levels. When we talk about the type of players that are out there, I love it, the fact that they come from so many different religions, so many races, so many areas, so many countries. It's so diverse, and so sport should be. There should be no barriers. So we've got the situation now where you've got your Q school. Next year we'll start an Asian Q school for players that don't want to come over and they want to play, and build the local circuit up. So we become effectively a truly global sport. And the last 8 years has been all about globalization, maximising prize money and giving people a chance to change their life. And I'm very proud of what we've achieved over that period, and I'm excited about the next one. The next stage for me is not necessarily £1 million first prize, is to get to £20 million prize money, But what I look at is I see how far it goes down. I want people to suffer. I want people to I want to be hard on people, because they've got to be special. And when they're special, then they have every right to want to be rewarded. And that's our job.
Any more questions?
Barry, just on Jimmy White, how easy a decision was that for you to make?
The little rascal. We couldn't leave him out, could we? I mean, I know, listen, I've got favourites as well. I can't help it. I'm human, I'd have probably given Steve Davis a tour card till he was 100. He's my friend. And Jimmy White's not far behind. Jimmy White, although he's never won the world title, although he should have won the world title several times. In fact, if he practiced during his peak as he's practicing now, he would have probably won 3 or 4 world titles. But his life was slightly more chaotic in those days, but his natural ability shone through. But when you've had days in like the Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Hong Kong with 5,000 or 6,000 people in there, and you've experienced Jimmy White walking out, and the noise factor and the love that was in the room, the contribution the man made. And I asked Jimmy, do you want to play for another 2 years? He said, Bazza, it's my life. I want to play more than I can tell you. And so for me, it was a no-brainer, no decision. And let's see what the old maestro's got. He's still sometimes reasonably competitive. That's not being carried away. I'm not saying he's going to win the World Championships, but he's an addition to the tour, and the tour owes Jimmy White. And that's something that we don't forget in life, who we owe. We are ordinary, normal people, and this sport owes Jimmy White. And Ken Doherty has showed that invitational tour cards do work. He's back in the top 64 on merit, having dropped off the tour and being given an invitational tour card. James Watana is in the second year of his. And we're not going to throw out these tour cards willy-nilly. You've got to be someone of substance to get one. And Jimmy White, without question, had my vote. As they said in the film Jerry Maguire, he had me when he said hello. It was a no-brainer.
Any more? I just thank you all very much for coming, and a big thank you to World Snooker and the team as well. They're great to work with, Barry. That's one of the reasons we've extended, especially Ivan and his team here. I can see Donna as well, so thanks very much. You're great to work with. Right, enjoy the rest of the Betfred World Snooker Championship.
Thank you. Well done, Mark. Thank you.
Cheers, Barry.